Hey everyone,
Hey friends.
Hi.
Hey.
and we're back. Welcome back to the Wi-Fi Pod. It's
Another
great.
week.
Great to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to what we're really here to talk about, do we want to do a quick recap on Berkshire Yoga Fest?
We do.
Front door.
Front
desk.
Front desk.
Front door. We have a front door message.
Does anybody
Brought
have
to you
any?
by.
I was really hoping that
Wow.
you could pull out a
was gonna
front door
say.
brand in that moment.
Oh, like Anderson. Anderson
Yeah.
Doors and Windows.
Brought to you by Anderson Doors and Windows. No, we're just kidding. Jesus.
Yeah,
We're
Matt.
off to a great start.
we are.
As per usual.
What does anyone who wants to start? Quick. You don't have to go in every detail, but what takeaways from the festival? Was this everyone's first yoga festival?
It was my first yoga festival.
It was not mine.
Not mine.
Oh, okay.
No.
But it was definitely mine.
Yeah.
Goes without almost saying.
50-50.
Yeah,
Yep.
halvesies.
My
Halvesies.
first one, not presenting, but boothing.
Boothing.
Yeah, tabling.
Ooh, boothin'.
Boothing.
I like
Boothing.
boothing, but in tabling.
A lot of
I
time.
can say that there was some some moments of sweetness that were over the top. And really it was people connecting with you, Jeannie, and these were probably, I'm guessing these are probably some of your favorite moments too, but people coming up after the class, which mind you, they had to move us to a bigger room
Yeah.
because our little
They
rock star
did.
here.
we're not gonna bury that lead. I was gonna say.
I mean,
No.
let's also keep in mind it was the only option the entire weekend for Kundalini Yoga. If that's something people wanted to explore.
right,
The
but
best,
Yeah.
best option for Kundalini yoga.
also you made it happen because you asked whoever was running it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So who's doing a Kundalini class? And they said no one.
No
and
one.
You said
And
well.
we said tisk tisk.
Yeah, we said well. Sign us up for
Well, I
teaching
think,
one.
I mean, speaking of marketing, right? I think I was well, not a whole lot of our students are going to come to a festival where there's zero Kundalini Yoga.
right.
Yep.
So that's a huge contingent of our community. And if you want them to come to the Berkshires for this yoga festival, there's got to at least be one
Right.
Kundalini option for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just the interactions that people had with you, new and old, but maybe even especially new because they just don't have any history. So it was their first intro. So much sweetness.
So
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And
It was very-
how many students do you think that we had arrive?
And
Of
like
our
that went to the festival.
yeah.
within our programming,
I would say
at
20.
least 20.
Yeah.
Maybe
least
even
20
closer to
'cause-
30 because there were people who went to the festival but even didn't come to my class.
Right.
Because
And there was about 16 or 18 in your class
Mhm.
of Yoga Farm students. So yeah, I
yeah.
want to say between 20 and 30 for sure.
So cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was awesome. And in the class you taught total number 50?
60, I think.
60?
I was trying
More
to
than that,
count.
yeah.
Yeah, it was over 50.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's weird how hard it is to count
Yeah.
a room of yoga mats.
I was thinking that too.
I didn't even
tried-
think about it until we were taking the picture of grads and
group.
students. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I should have counted how many, we could go back through the video that
Well,
you took.
And I did
It
a
could,
pan
yeah.
video, which is what I was trying to
You were
kinda count
counting.
from. But I'm did I hit the corners and
Right.
and
Yeah.
was somebody laying down? So
Mhm.
I'm gonna say around 60.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome because
great.
you made that class happen because you were just like, hey, there needs to be at least one. And they said,
Right.
yes.
If I remember
put you
correctly,
in the
we were
smallest room.
almost off with a phone
Mhm.
call. The
Yeah.
phone call was just about wrapping up, and then it was
Perchance.
where's the
Well, I was
Kundalini?
like, do you have any,
Yeah.
selfish question.
Yeah, because
Right.
Is
And I might
anybody
still wanna
teaching
go
Kundalini?
to this
'Cause I
class,
would
Yeah.
want to go to that class,
Right.
right? And he was like, oh, God, no, we don't.
No,
I
we
was
don't.
like, well,
Now
guess
you
what?
do.
Well, then, I mean, when was that? Was that Saturday
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
festival? Well, so then when it started on Thursday, there were 2 whole days of your students that were there saying, we can't
We
go
can't
to this
get in."
class. This
Yeah.
class is already full. I'm waitlisted. I want to go to her class. I want to go to her class. And by Friday evening
Saturday.
or Saturday
Morning,
morning, they
Saturday
said,
morning at
6:30
7.
a.m.
Saturday morning at
Yeah.
7. Oh, that's right. Saturday morning early.
Uh-huh.
They changed it to a different room to
Mhm.
fit all the people.
well,
that
they already
said,
moved the tape.
this
one
teacher's
time.
awesome.
I talked to the person that lays down the tape in the room,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Yeah, they had me go in and redo it so that
Cool.
there's more space."
But even
was
then, it couldn't contain
It would have been
the
so
multitudes.
tight. Could you even imagine
No.
in that
No.
smaller room?
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been
Oh wow.
New York City yoga.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mhm. Tight.
So for the first time Yogi Fest, it was of course awesome because of all the reasons why I like them, because everyone there is into the same stuff. They all have the excited energy of this 4-day, not party, but celebration of the, not hobby, but the practices and stuff. And to see all the students and to meet students, because I haven't met a lot of them. I met a couple on retreat a year ago, and then I met some new ones who have been in our community for a while, which was cool. And the new, like you said, new people, right? Like the the one couple that met us or came up to meet you after your class
Yep.
on Sunday,
The teacher.
which was, there were,
there was another couple.
Oh,
Yeah.
really
Later
There
in
was
the
a
day on
yeah.
Sunday. Yeah, they were really sweet.
They were
They
cute.
bought a sheepskin.
Yay.
They did. Yeah, they were really cute. They were just very happy for your class. They were not surprised, but just like maybe surprised because of what maybe the assumptions they made about Kundalini going in and had not done the practice or done it very little. And then the way you teach it, which is amazing. And so accessible for everyone and not scary. And yeah, it was wonderful. And I'm like, everyone's gushing over you. I'm like, I already know this, but it's fun to you because I mean, I could say all this, and it's like, not that you don't believe it, but when like strangers take one class and say the same thing, then it's like, yeah, see, I told you.
Well, and don't you think it's fun too, like as somebody who's like loved Jeannie for a long time, right? Like, I mean, I've loved Jeannie for over 30 years, so like to get to see her like shiny.
Oh
in
yeah,
this
I never brought up
element,
the
like,
TikTok that you did or the
Yeah.
Instagram. You're like, did you see that, Jeannie?
What?
He snuck.
The one
Oh,
I made?
yeah.
yeah. So
Well,
like, great.
for those of you, plug your Instagram tag here.
What's our Instagram?
Whose Instagram?
Is
Oh,
Yours.
Mutual
Ours.
Victory.
Mutual Victory.
Yeah.
I think it's Mutual Victory.
Yeah, it was
on
cute. He's
TikTok
like
and Instagram.
peeking in the window. He's like, "That's my wife in there."
Oh.
It's like, that's
I
cool.
was like, that's so cool.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
yeah.
really cool though.
It was awesome. It was so much
People,
fun.
They brought us. We all got a stone. They
I
brought
know,
us
we
a
got,
gift.
like,
That was
gifts.
so
Remember?
sweet.
I got a really sweet
Michelle.
note from a student and card, and then Amy brought me that bag that
All the
said all the things on it, and now every time I see it, I think of Amy and her cuteness, and of course all the things. I'm like, all the things can go in this bag.
Oh, thanks. That's the thing we say. You say it a lot, only because of the nature of your
I
job.
I did not realize that I say it that much until Amy
so-
brought me a bag that said all the things on it, and I was like, do I say that? You know, it's just
And I was like, first thing I thought was, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
This is perfect. This is perfect.
all the things.
Oh,
All the
So
things.
nice to be thought of.
Very, very sweet.
Yeah.
And
Just like all the
Yeah.
hugs
and the weather was, I mean, besides that one little rainstorm where we
Right.
huddled
Yeah.
in, like the weather was really beautiful
Yeah.
and the venue was really fun, like
wow. I mean, talk about. So, as somebody who
has gone.
gone to many festivals, yoga and otherwise, I was like, this is a bougie festival, guys. Like,
Yeah.
like never do you ever stay in a
There's bathrooms.
like
One,
on
there's
site.
bathrooms.
So like it's one thing to have a festival. Like you could go to Grassroots in Trumansburg and stay at an Airbnb close by. But you're not on site.
Right.
On site means at the Berkshire Yoga Fest meant a ski resort.
Right.
So we're staying in like a ski condo on site. And I was like, this is not,
I was
you
like,
know, usually it's like you're camping in a field. There's no
Yeah.
shade. It's 900 degrees in your tent
Yeah.
at 7:30 in the morning.
Yep.
You know, like you're peeing in
You're
tall
going for
grass.
water.
Showers are a bucket, like in a.
I mean, I've been to some
Yeah.
festivals where you're hauling water in because they've run out of access to water because it's just in the middle of a field.
Ugh,
Yeah.
That sounds like
You
And
know?
they had free water at this one. It
They
was like,
Oh, that's right.
did.
It's
Smart
so
water was
sweet.
there.
Yeah, smart
Like,
water.
It was just all, and it was all done very professionally.
Yeah.
It was an inaugural festival, which, as we all can attest, first pancakes can be
First pancake.
an interesting ride.
Make me messy. Sticky.
And there were, I mean, they did such a tremendous professional job of executing this festival. And I'm sure that behind the scenes there were things and there were kinks and they
Always.
had to like work
How
stuff
many
out.
times did you see them run?
Right.
there was
running.
There were a few running
mean,
moments.
Yeah, they were always running.
They were
And
always
I think that
hustling.
they were always like getting to the sound check, checking in, making sure everyone, the
Had
presenters
everything.
and
Yeah.
had what they needed. Yeah.
Yeah. Good job, guys.
Good spirits.
Guys and
Yeah.
gals.
Right? They were always in good
Yeah.
spirits.
That's
Yep.
true.
And it's
It's
like
very,
they
very
would
true.
go by, you give them a high five, like,
Right.
yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things too where it's like this is clearly a passion project. Anybody who has worked with or done festivals in their lives, like festivals aren't generally like you're not making a ton of profit on a festival, and that's not what drives the
Right.
purpose. You know, we're also going to be at Reggae Fest on Saturday,
Like 2 days.
and yeah, and that's a whole other passion project where people
Yeah.
come together because they care so much about the main focus of a festival that it's just not about the money. It's not about the money. And breaking even is great. You know, coming out having some surplus is even better because it rolls into the next festival and so you can do cooler stuff the next time. But I just love watching people be that passionate about something and willing to show up in that way. Even
Yeah.
when it's stressful and long hours, I'm
Yeah.
sure they were all there.
Those
like
are things
12
I
hours.
want to
Oh,
be
easily.
involved with.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like you can feel the
Yeah.
passion of the people that are behind the project.
Totally.
Yeah.
Would recommend.
Would
Yeah.
recommend.
Hope we get invited back next year.
Yeah.
I
We're
would be
definitely getting invited
shocked
back
if
next
we
year.
didn't.
I have to
am-
send him. I'm going to send him I haven't done it yet. The photo of our students in the
Yeah.
room. I'm going to
Yeah.
email him that. And then next year we'll be at Telluride.
Oh wow. I mean,
What's the
Flash.
name?
I
News.
thought Yoga Fest was a bucket list. Like Telluride is like, what is it? Comedians always want to perform at the Apollo Theater, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's a thing.
Okay.
Like that's a checkpoint of
Mhm.
like you've done this
You've
really
made it,
amazing
or-
thing.
yeah.
Telluride would be upper echelon.
Whoa.
Although I'm like, where do people stay? Now I don't know.
In a condo. Because I'm not going to
You're
any
like, that's the
festivals
only option now.
where
Right.
we don't
I'll
stay
tell
in a
you where
condo.
we would be staying. Condo. Yeah, man. Tent camping, I'm sorry. Is
We
in the
brought our popcorn maker.
rear view mirror for me, honey.
That was so great.
I brought my coffee grinder.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 we're
Half
set
We
of
up.
have
the-
a really good setup.
Half of the car
Pretty good.
was
In our
loaded
condo.
Yeah.
with appliances that we
Uh-huh.
brought
It a little
to
bit was.
accommodate our
Comfort
various
levels.
Comfort levels.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I know some friends that stayed off campus and they were really happy with their accommodations. So like people are
Yeah,
thinking
people
for
were
next year,
camping
there
like
was some really
5 minutes down the
Yeah.
road.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're staying at Airbnbs, right? Like it's a good area for a variety
Oh
of,
yeah.
of housing options. So,
So
and it was
much.
nice that the pricing seemed very reasonable for what was happening in the area. So
Well, and I think I saw an email that said that they're going to do like super early bird pre-sale for next year of $200 per ticket for all 4 days.
Oh, that's
Wow.
great.
Totally.
So they're
That's
going to
great.
do a limited release of those. Maybe
Yep.
200 of
Yeah.
those tickets will get sold. So,
Good on them.
yeah.
and also I love that like Liv Avtar, and we saw her only a couple times. She was really
She was in it.
immersed in the
Mhm. Yeah.
experience. So
I told
It's
her at
like-
one point she was glowing.
yeah.
To
Yeah.
which she responded,
Yeah, it was
"Of
so-
course I am. I'm at a yoga festival."
That's so on brand.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Little Pop Tart.
Little Pop Tart.
That's an amazing name.
It is.
It was
It
so
is.
good, right? It's
We're
so
gonna have to
good.
tell her that this is her rap name,
I don't know.
Liv,
That's
are you
her. Well,
listening?
her
no.
stage name,
That's her next album.
her next album. Yes.
We'll put a.
Live Avatar presents Little Pop Tart.
Yep.
Mhm.
Or it's just like an alternative persona, like Garth Brooks had Chris Gaines for a
Oh
while.
right.
So
Right.
maybe
I
you're
didn't
just
know
like,
that.
So maybe we
No.
can
Oh,
hook
she's
her up
gotta
with.
rap.
What we need to do is hook her up with DJ Taz.
Yes.
And Liv Avtar and DJ Taz will become DJ Taz presents Little Pop Tart.
Little
Little
Pop Tart.
Pop-Tart.
I
I love how everyone was down to earth too. Like DJ Taz walking
Yeah.
by,
Yeah.
they're like, "Hey, have you seen MC
Right.
Yogi?" And we're like, "Nope."
Not in the last 5 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Very, very good.
very down.
Very
to
that
good.
earth.
scenario you just painted.
Mm-hmm.
There are very few things I really hope happen.
Oh.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
It made the list of that is in the top 10 of things I hope for 2024 or 2025.
Okay.
I
The
could not
album.
agree more.
Yeah.
Yep. At least
Manifesting
like
it.
one mashup, right? If we could get
Yeah.
probably all that we would need to do is send him a copy of her album.
Right. And
Mm.
he
Right.
sample.
And
like,
he'll,
Yeah.
and he'll
yeah.
mix
right.
it. Mhm.
Yeah.
He is coming out with a mantra.
Right. But then we need to
Can't get better than Mantra-delica. That name's already taken.
but then we need to get her to rebrand for that one song
Yeah.
as Little Pop Tart.
A lot of things are happening here,
I
Matt.
love it. Just got to put it
Well,
out
and
there.
it's fantastic timing because at the time of this recording, we're talking about like full moon energy, strawberry moon energy,
Solstice
and
energy.
solstice energy,
Yeah.
and in Cancer. So no, Capricorn. The moon is
Moon's
in
in
Capricorn.
Capricorn. Yep.
We're
We're
shifting
going
into
into Cancer
Cancer
season.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good time for it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I believe you. We have not talked about astrology yet in this podcast.
Oh yeah.
So I
We're
need
getting
to
there.
Yep.
do some brushing
We're
up.
waiting for Jess to get closer
Finish
to the
my-
end of her
finish my
course.
Yeah.
course. It's a long one.
Yeah.
Last thing
Cool.
about Liv is she sent me a photo of myself dancing at the MC Yogi DJ
Aw.
test. And I was like, yep, there's me. I mean, it's just fun. She's like,
So
you were just
sweet.
looking like you were having the best time. And I said, I
She
was.
snapped a little
I was.
picture.
Yeah.
It's nice
Yeah.
when people see our joy.
Oh,
Documented.
so I have a front desk that is an idea that I had this morning that I don't want to lose. So I'm going to say
Oh,
it
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
in front of everyone, and
On
we're
this
going to record
manifestation
it
day.
Say it into a
on this
microphone.
manifestation day.
Here we go.
So we've had over the past few weeks and months, really, but because the weather is so nice and I think people are like in travel mode, there's been an uptick of students who are a few hours away
Mhm.
making the trip to
Did you hear
Ithaca.
this one today?
Yes, and
Yeah.
there was another one today. And so I had this thought of all of the blank space on the wall in the coat room and hanging up another bulletin board and buying one of those little mini Polaroid cameras to keep
I
here
have
at the
one.
front desk.
Oh, yeah.
I own one that I never use.
You never use it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I really never use it.
And then anytime a student like makes the pilgrimage, right, to
Yeah, I
come
love
and
it.
hang out and take
Mm.
a class, we snap a Polaroid shot and we date it and their name and we put it on the, alumni visitor wall.
Okay, but I'm
Oh.
like, can we get a map, a U.S. map,
Oh,
and then like kind of
Oh.
pin it to where they're from?
Yeah.
Wow. You just created all
Take
in
it
harmony.
to the next.
Oh, yeah.
And not
Harmony
the,
of
not
awe.
The harmony of awe, not the
Harmony of awe. I think, yes.
Good job.
We might need some strings though, because
Some
photos
strings.
are going to be like,
They're like
they're the
this
mini
big.
ones,
They're
but
like this
still
big.
like,
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a lot of
A lot
photos
of
in New
people
York,
yeah.
Right.
and Pennsylvania.
We could just do like we could have our own New York and Pennsylvania maps, like
Right,
next to
yeah.
the country map.
Mhm, that's
Blow up
that's
those
true.
two states
That's true.
Because, yeah.
Or we could have a photo wall and also a map, and people put their
Just
little
put their
pins
pins
where they
in.
are. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So
Ties, in,
Okay.
ties into marketing. We think of our booth person next to us, Melissa, right? And I really love that she had the photo collage
Yeah.
of everyone wearing. She makes shirts and things of that nature, and she had a photo of her friends and people wearing the shirts, and
Yeah.
just like I looked over at one point and I was like, I love that collage. That just like looks happy.
where was
and-
it? I didn't even see it.
It was
Yeah.
like just right up on the wall, like from where we were sitting. If we just turned, it was like.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was like, that's a
love
good
I
it.
only
idea,
noticed it 'cause
too.
She pointed
I
it out.
noticed that.
Yes.
Just thinking about all the photos that we took with students and
Mhm.
people that we met,
Mhm.
something like that would be really fun to have.
Yeah,
Agreed.
Yeah.
love it.
Agreed.
Well,
I'm gonna buy some stuff
Do it.
online.
Do it.
you know what? I love it.
Put it in the cart.
So this is my front desk around. Well, it's also just. I mean, I'm so grateful and so humbled, and what I think is true about the marketing that we do, which there's a ton of it, and we're going to dive into it because everyone's very curious about this, and I do get a lot of questions at office hours around marketing.
Well, that is the topic of the day.
That is
Yeah.
the topic of the day.
We have to treat this like a freshman essay.
The topic
this
of today
podcast-
in
in
this
this-
podcast, we will be
topic is-
discussing.
Complete sentences.
Is marketing.
And here are the 3 reasons that we're talking about this. And our students, and I don't necessarily mean our students going out and being like, do this yoga teacher training, do this yoga teacher training. And they do that. You all do that. Those of you listening, we see you, we love you,
know
we
it.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Our students are also just embodying a way of teaching that is prompting their students to say, I want to do what you do.
Yeah.
I feel so good after an order came in today for Kundalini Warrior for the fall. And like it said, like, how did you find out about that?
I love reading that part.
I know.
Yeah.
How did you find out about this program? And they wrote my Kundalini teacher. And you know
Yeah.
that they're a grad, right? And
Right.
so what happens in class. And I remember being the student, I remember being the student in the yoga class. It's just like, God, I feel so good right now. And I want to be able to facilitate this feeling being an option for as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And saying that to one of my teachers, and my teachers being like, go to yoga teacher training. Like, you can do this.
It is available to
It is
all.
available to all.
That's like
And-
it's like a mental gateway. No, what is the term for something that keeps something?
Hurdle,
Yeah,
Hurdle,
hurdle.
block,
Block.
Yeah,
all
the-
those words.
Yeah.
Pit of snakes.
I was like, I was like, something's about to come out here.
Oh my God.
Booby traps.
Booby trap.
No, it's a mental hurdle where I think it's not just maybe the price or the time, but I think in their people's own minds it's hard to put yourself in a position where like I admire what I just saw.
Right.
I felt such a great experience from what I just saw, but being able to do that is so out of reach. I mean, because there's so much learning and growing that happens to get there, and you often don't. You're so focused on like the journey, you forget that like this person was where you are too, so they could you could do this, right?
Right. I mean, it's like getting through that imposter syndrome.
yeah.
Or for me, it was like my whole thing, my whole mental hurdle was I can't be a yoga teacher because I can't do full lotus pose. I couldn't put both of my feet on my thighs in a cross-legged position at the same time. And I was like, see?
I don't even know.
Evidence.
Literally the logo for yoga, right?
I know.
Right.
I was like, I can't put both of my feet on my thighs. So that's it for me. Like,
Yeah.
no yoga teaching for me until someone was like, literally, Jeannie, what are you saying right now? This is the most ridiculous thing. And sometimes we need to hear that.
I remember reading a poem, and it was something of the nature of like just the fact that this yoga teacher was up there and her belly was like, she just looked like herself, and how comfortable, they notated like how comfortable she was in her body.
Like just taking up
And it
space.
wasn't, just letting herself be and teach as herself, and not feel like, you have to like do anything or be anything specific. And then I remember reading that, and I was like, that's how I want to be. I just want to be myself. And I love teachers that are able to embody that.
And you talk about that, like representation matters.
Oh, it totally
in
matters.
yoga.
Yeah,
Like it
100%.
matters that people look like me and you and
Yeah.
you and you.
Well, we want to find affinity with people because that's an easeful access point to a sacred mirror. Early in my journey, most of my meditation, mindfulness, yoga instructors were very strong, athletic-bodied men. And so like in comparison, like I can't just like pop up into a forearm balance like that. My body doesn't work that way. And so as much as I appreciated their teaching, it was like, well, of course you can do that, but I can't do that. Like, of course you can come into this super bendy pose. That I won't be able to do that though. And then you find the teacher where you're like, oh, if she can do that, I can do that. If
Right.
they can do that, I can do that. If they can be accepted, I can be accepted. It's important. It's important to have affinity. So you found a really cool thing
It did.
that was written
I found
about
so many cool things.
you,
Which one are you talking about?
resident librarian.
That's right. I'm just the finder of cool
You
things.
found a cool, is it like a snippet of an article?
Oh yeah, I think it's from Alan Dibb.
Oh, the whole world just spun. Whee!
Mm-hmm.
You right?
Yeah, I'm good.
When's the last time you ate something?
What do you mean? We had breakfast. I had eggs.
Yeah, that was like 6 hours
The
ago.
days just go.
Let's just keep
All right,
going.
the one-page marketing plan: get new customers, make more money, and stand out from the crowd by Alan Dibb.
Oh.
I believe that's. I hope. I will amend this in any show notes if I am wildly mistaken. But I found this on, I think, my TikTok algorithm or Instagram. I saw this meme, and it's about like what's the difference between marketing, publicity, advertisements, stuff like that. And the analogy he gives is a circus coming into town.
Circus coming to town.
I love a circus.
I mean,
All
that's kind of like what we are.
I was like,
I don't know. Hold on.
when we arrive, we arrive. That's all I have.
I have a pre-K pause.
Okay.
There's two analogies that happen a lot that make no sense to me. One is that like something crazy like a zoo, Zoos are not crazy.
They're very organized.
Usually,
Yeah.
99.99 whatever percent of the time, everyone is where they're supposed to be, and the public is not in danger.
Mhm.
They are fairly well. They are very well organized.
Mhm.
So I would say that's a ridiculous one.
Uh-huh.
Also, circuses, very organized,
Well executed.
well executed,
Oh.
planned.
Plan.
We're so well executed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like
a lot of
to-
fun.
And
That's
I
all
was
we
gonna
meant.
say, I'm going with the fun
To
aspect.
call something a circus, people often use it to describe something that is chaos.
Right.
I
Not
disagree.
chaos.
You know what circuses have?
What?
Popcorn.
Yeah, popcorn.
You know what we love?
No, we need
Organization and popcorn.
and organization.
I feel like
Are we going to rebrand as Yoga Circus?
Yes.
Can you
No.
imagine the
Welcome to the
emails
big
we
top.
would get? Do you have tumbling classes? Do you
God.
have a trapeze?
This really
can
could
I
open a lot
take
of doors
a class
for us,
with
actually.
monkeys?
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Oh.
So the quote goes as follows. Here's the simple, most jargon-free definition of marketing you'll ever likely to come across. If the circus is coming to town and you paint a sign saying, "Circus coming to the Shadowground Saturday," that's advertising. If you put the sign on the back of an elephant and walk it into town, that's promotion. If the elephant walks through the mayor's flower bed and the local newspaper writes a story about it, that's publicity. And if you get the mayor to laugh about it, that's public relations. If the town citizen go to the circus, you show them the many entertainment booths and explain how much fun they'll have spending money at the booths, answer the questions, and ultimately they spend a lot at the circus, that's sales. And if you planned the whole thing, that's marketing.
Damn.
Good,
It's
right?
good. It's
Yeah.
really good.
If these mics
Okay.
weren't so expensive, I would drop it.
It's
It is really good. I saw that. I'm like, that is... Because if you were to ask me to define all those terms,
Right.
basically, like
Yeah.
what they are, I could maybe understand what they were. Could I put it in words like that were so eloquent and so sense-making? No, probably not. So I don't know. But hearing that or reading that paragraph, I was like, it's all right
yeah.
there.
I mean, marketing is big picture, big planning.
Yep.
And I think that is definitely one of the reasons why we get so many questions around it and why there's so much reticence from students around it, because it has the internal experience of like overwhelm. I don't know anything about this. I mean, I'll be the first person to say that the word marketing for years, I was like, nope, not going to that meeting. I'm just not going to that meeting. And there were other things going on, like, my marketing thoughts not being listened to. But ultimately, it's like, we have to look at 6 months out, 8 months out, 12 months out when developing and building a marketing plan. And then I think there's a lot of noise out there around it. So ideas like you have to have this brand, you have to super niche down. You know what we have not done? Niche down.
I was
Niche
like, niche
down.
down.
Can you say that
We're
again?
literally going to be a
But
circus.
Can you put that?
Niche down.
Say that again,
Should've
but put
worn
your
my
glasses
purple
on a little
glasses.
bit more smooth.
Stop it.
It was good. No, that was awesome. Like,
We
you
do
know
not.
what? I mean, it's like taking a glass. You know what? We're not niching down.
Niching down.
Yeah, and then like identify your brand, stick to that brand, don't diverge from the brand. And so there's also this litany of jargon that's out there around marketing, advertising, promotion, press, all of it. And I think that when it comes to particularly the field that we're in, what is the most important is authenticity and integrity. 100%.
Well, I was going to ask, like, do you think that in some ways, like,
And
as a
consistency.
nonprofit, like, we have a mission. Like, we don't have to stick to our brand because we stick to our mission.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
like, we get to run everything through the lens of, like, is
Right.
this following our mission? So, like, maybe people just need to have a mission.
And if you've
Right.
taken our
Right.
YTTs with us, there is a question that we work through, and it's like, what is your why?
Right.
Yeah.
To me, that's like when I went through that training and I discovered my why at the time. I was like, when I taught and I did the things that I did, like,
Yeah.
that's my mission. I'm doing it
Yeah.
because this is
Right.
why.
And how do you
because
get
your
that into
why-
brand?
Yeah, your why ends up being your brand.
Right.
In not a what is going to sell or what is going to be easy to pitch, and instead of like, what am I actually here to do?
Right.
And what is like my personal contribution to the world. And so we use Simon Sinek stuff in our 200-hour programs, which we found out at Berkshire Yoga Fest that one of our students, Sarah, her cousin is cousins with Simon Sinek.
Yeah. Small world.
Funny small world. And we use that to help everyone anchor into that space of mission-driven, internal mission-driven or organizational mission-driven decision-making. And, I think that in the noise of the internet, if we're going to talk about how do you stand out within that, one of the ways is to be authentic and to be clear and to know who you are in your own self and being, so that what you're putting out there just is that, like, this is a human being here doing a thing, and people resonate with that truth and authenticity, and that is a tremendous feather in the cap of marketing.
I love that too, because like there can be 7 people offering Kundalini, and if you're authentic in your offering of it, like it does draw in those people that are supposed to be there. Like I really do believe that. So like there's none of that like competition piece. There's none of that, like there's not too many cooks in the kitchen. There's no what were they always saying about massage therapists in this town, that it was like saturated.
Yeah.
Like there's no saturation necessarily, like when you are authentic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because you're going to find your
people
teacher.
And your teacher.
You're going to find your students, and that comes from that affinity, and it also helps us just remember that, whatever the access point is a gift, So if somebody comes across Kundalini Yoga through a different organization, there isn't, for me, I'm not like, oh, why didn't they come to us? I'm like, oh, they found their spot.
They found their
Kundalini.
teacher.
You
They
found your teacher.
Yeah.
You found the
make
practice.
sure that you resonate with that person.
And if you're supposed to land with us at some point, you will.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any concern about that or energy around that. There is so much, and that brings up a great point, because at the root of so much marketing jargon speak, out there, there is this thread of scarcity, and within that thread of scarcity, it's like, how can I pitch to you that you want to come with us? What fear? There's like my least favorite marketing term that's out there is like
the fear point.
Pain point.
Fear point.
What's
Pain
the pain point?
Yeah.
And I'm like, ugh.
And it's like, how do you solve their pain for them?
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's not
Right.
like, it's like, how do you push on this way? Like, but at the same time, like it's just it's a negative connotation.
Well,
and,
and
like,
it's just so.
how about their
like,
joy point?
Yeah, it's so
Their joy point.
patriarchal.
Or like just reword it. How
Right.
do you ease their suffering or ease
Like-
their like?
Well,
How do you
like,
inspire their
pain
joy points?
So
yeah, right?
Oh,
Because they use it
okay.
like suffer.
Woo! Okay.
You.
I'm
Not there
sorry.
first.
I was like,
I
I was waiting for Pleasure Point to come out.
got
next,
news
so
for
I was
you.
like-
That is staying in.
joy.
We're not taking that
I feel
out.
flushed.
Drink some water.
Well, yeah, I mean that's no surprise when you look at marketing or advertising all over like I can't tell you how many
Yeah.
commercials are like. It's once you look through the lens of like they are pointing out a problem that you didn't know you had, or
Yeah.
That you
trying
didn't
to that you
have.
don't have, or they're trying to
That you don't even
convince
have,
you.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah.
They're trying to convince you have this problem, and they have the thing to solve it.
Right.
That's their whole
Right.
angle.
I remember when I first started teaching. I live in a very small town. No one's ever heard of Kundalini Yoga before, let alone yoga. And I just, I went just right in as who I am. And then what happens when we do that? We start to go back a little bit because it's like, oh shit. And what I mean by that is I started to change my practice
To fit what other people wanted.
other people.
Yep.
Oh.
And my heart is like beating right now, even with that feeling, because that was not cool. And I very quickly was like, nope, I'm just gonna do this, and the people, whoever's meant to arrive will arrive. And once I leaned into being comfortable with myself, the way that, I'll be honest with you, I learned to be comfortable with myself through, trainings with Yoga Farm. I was able to like surrender a little bit and let myself be seen and just stick to what was right and what felt authentic to me. And then, people arrived, and then people told people, and then people told their people, and it was, yeah.
Well,
so stay, be you. Let yourself ride that wave of
Stay be
like,
you.
Stay be you.
stay be you.
Maybe you.
And let yourself ride that wave of like, oh, I'm going to do what the people want me to do. And then see how quickly that doesn't feel right for you. And
Well, not just that, Serena, like you bring up such a common path divergence for so many, I would say across the board, healing, light workers, whatever capacity, right? This idea that it's like, well, this is what I do. And is that even what people want?
Right.
And trying to, because friends, nobody knows what they want. And they really don't know what they want if they don't know even that
What it is.
something else is an option.
that's
Right.
why they make
Right.
ice cream with 3 flavors.
Like we, Jesus, like we don't know what we don't know. So
Yeah.
if I'm like, I'm going to yoga for fitness, and every single teacher is teaching towards that fitness goal, nothing wrong with that. That's all that I'm going to receive. If I'm not ever exposed to a teacher who does it a little bit differently and maybe brings in like some chanting or some laughter or some hula hooping, I don't know, like I'm not going to know that that is an integral part of my practice because I'm not going to have exposure to it. And what happens when we water down who we are, we diminish our light for other people's comfort zone, and nobody learns
And then we're
inside
all
their
in our
comfort,
comfort
zone.
zone.
Yeah, there's no
All of
learning.
us.
There's no learning.
Yeah, what you're saying, it makes me even think of other teaching, because I've never taught yoga, but I was a high school teacher for over a decade. And any sort of performance or creative art, which I maintain teaching is,
Teaching is an art.
you're very vulnerable when you first get the urge, because I mean, everyone starts out teaching anything. Well, who do you sound like? You sound like your teacher, because that's the base experience you have is hearing that person explain the thing you are now teaching, and then you find your voice, and then you find what you want to be doing and how you want to sound. And once you find that, then it's like, oh, I'm actually vulnerable because I can't hide behind the words that Jeannie taught me when she did this class. Now these are my words. So it's very vulnerable. And when you want to get more creative and dip into that performance piece.
Yeah.
And you do diminish your light when you say, oh, let me fall back. I'm again going back to the high school teaching experience. I'm going to just go back to this lesson plan that's here, even though I find it boring. I don't think it's interesting.
Right.
It diminishes my light, and it just sucks the joy out of everything that I think is cool about this topic. And then you're not who you are in front of your students, and you're not even there for your students, as opposed to being vulnerable, taking that risk and chance to do something more creative.
Yeah. And you can't, you can't put out there something that isn't authentic to you for a long period of time, right? And so that veil will be lifted at some point. And then also you can't please everyone.
Yeah.
So, it's a losing game to be like, well, this student wants this, and this market likes this, and this town would respond best to this. Do what you are here to do and hold that mission and vision. And that's one of the greatest marketing strategies that you can put out there, because it is so rooted in alignment with your mission on this planet, whether you've like sat down and actually had that conscious contemplation around like, what am I here to do? And for a lot of people, I think that does feel daunting. Like it's the old question at like 16 of like, what are you going to be when you grow up?
Right.
Like,
What
I
are
don't
you doing
know.
with your life?
I still
Right,
don't know.
And it's so funny you say that, because I remember adults saying, or having that fear, like, what am I going to do? And then adults say, you know what, don't worry about it. I'm 45 and I still don't know. And I'm like, shut the heck up. Yes, you do. You're doing things,
doing it.
man.
It's not helpful.
Stop blowing hot wind up my ass. You're doing stuff.
How'd you get there?
And now
Yeah.
I'm 44 and I kind of get it now.
Yeah, you get
Makes
it.
a lot of sense.
It's
Totally
like
get
my
it.
mom. She's like, you won't know yourself till you're 30. And I'm like, dang, she was right. It's like, couldn't she have given me any more like context of like a book or something?
She was
But
wrong.
so
So
She
anyway, I
was, she
turned
was
30. And
She was right and mysterious about it all
yeah,
at once.
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah. And I think, you know, when we look at the big picture of marketing and then the smaller pieces that get you there, you know, don't surrender. If I had advice, which I don't really often say that I have advice because I can't ever know, right, what anyone else is supposed to do. So maybe I would reframe it to say, if I had advice for my younger self, thinking about this organization, thinking about yoga and putting it out in the world, meditative practices, spiritual practices, I would say don't surrender to the hype of a marketing scheme or anything that you're moving through online and you're seeing like, this is the thing. I have cracked the marketing code to help you get 780 followers by the end of Tuesday. You know, any of those things that kind of pull you in with this very prescriptive and this very specific things that you need to do, and root down in authenticity and who you are and what you want to offer in the world. And then look for different streams of outreach. Where I started to not get as cringe about marketing, to use a young people word, cringe, was when I started to think of it as outreach.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
that's
know?
good.
That's when I got less cringe about a festival.
Yeah, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. It's
We
true.
love outreach.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
outreach. It's human connection. It's this is I'm not trying to sell you anything, you know?
Yeah.
And actually, as far as pain points, I really don't believe that there's anything wrong with you. I don't believe there's anything wrong with anyone inherently. I think that at the center, everyone is this masterpiece, and then there's all this gunk that we've collected, this baggage we've collected that tells us otherwise, that has us act foolish, you know?
Right, because it's not to say like people don't have pain and people don't have
Right.
things that they like
Right.
need to work on and work through, but like it doesn't.
But that's not who you
it's not
are.
who you are. And it
That's not who
doesn't-
you
yeah,
are.
It doesn't need to be fixed if you don't need to
Right.
fix it.
Like,
And
when you decide you want to
oftentimes
fix it.
we think that one thing can be fixed one way, right?
True. Yep.
And then here we are
Finding a whole
finding
different
a whole
way.
different avenue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not to go back to the front desk, but this made me think of watching all of you at the festival do tabling or boothing or outreach,
what was
whatever
that?
we're going to call it.
What was that like, Matt?
I was awesome. I mean, I love it. Was great because I am there thinking I'm such an introvert, so any amount of interaction like that requires a lot of energy. Like I need to flame the bellows, man. Like and whereas Jessica's just like, "Hey, you're here. Let's talk right now." And like just boom. Like with ease, and I'm jealous in a way because I don't lean into that as easy. So when I see people do it, I'm very impressed. So
Sometimes I feel like Carney. Like I'm like, step right up, step right up.
Come
Throw a
on
dart,
in
pop a
to our
balloon.
boothing.
Well, it's like you've been the person walking by a booth before,
Sure.
right? And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you could do a whole bit about people that like different people that walk by booths. Like, do they want to be talked to? Do they? You're like, don't
Are they
talk
like,
to
don't
me.
make eye contact?
See,
And
but those
then-
are my challenge.
yeah.
Those are my favorites.
God, it's
I'm
amazing.
like, come here.
Come here, we're gonna chat. Where I'm just like, Happy
Hey.
Yoga Fest.
happy yoga.
Happy Yoga
She's like,
Fest.
write it more. Write it on that board too. Say it to everybody.
We're gonna make it a thing. Happy Yoga Fest.
Yeah.
I think next year it's going to be a
T-shirts.
thing. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
T-shirt, tank tops, T-shirts.
Yeah.
To say Happy Yoga Fest
Yeah.
for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I think that a marketing anchor is understanding that what you're ultimately seeking is to do outreach and to recognize that your students are out there, your people are out there, your clients are out there, whatever you call them, participants, you know, And your job is to create this magnetism, to create this kind of like radio signal to reach them. And there are multiple streams of outreach that you can do.
Yep.
And we like to reference those as, you know, being within the field of a marketing plan or a marketing proposal or something like that. And so, you know, for us, I would say the most common for a lot of places first trying to get started is to spend money on marketing on Facebook and Instagram
And paid ads.
ads, right? So getting a handle on that. The tricky part about that, though, is there's so much noise on the internet. And if, you know, you have to catch people in the right mood, the right time. I know personally, and this is another kind of pro tip, is what makes you say yes to a program?
Right.
Like, start it rather than just kind of trying to imagine how you're going to reach your people. How have you been reachable? And start within those streams. And I know for me, sometimes I'm scrolling Instagram and I'm like, ugh, ad. Ugh. Remember when Instagram didn't have so many ads? And I'm just not in a receptive space to see any of that. And then there are other times where I'm like, you know what? I got to belly dance my way through anger. So I'm clicking on this link.
Yeah.
You know, like you never know what is on the receiving end. So that's just one way.
Well, and can I just add that like that is kind of, I think, what people think they have to do. And it's expensive.
It is.
Like, it isn't actually feasible for small businesses, sole proprietors, like little studios to pay. We have a very large marketing budget.
Huge marketing budget.
Like, so, you know, I think that people get a little stuck because they're like, this is how you have to advertise. This is how you have to market. And it isn't accessible because it's financially expensive.
You know what I love seeing is that our students, because you get to know them on Facebook and everything, and you become friends. And I love seeing students put out their stuff, like whether it's like, here's photo, here's my class, here's me. Friends, it just takes a second to give it a heart.
Yeah.
And like to say, so happy to see you doing your thing. Like, I'm not there. I can't go to your class physically. But honestly, if someone else knows, like, you know, if I read that and I say, you know, you're reading through a comment and you're like, wow, this person enjoys their class. Like, that's something that grabs my attention.
Yep.
Right. And like promote those people that you love, promote the businesses you love, right? That is,
Doesn't cost any.
Doesn't cost anything.
Does not cost anything to encourage an artist.
Yep.
Yeah. And that brings me to my second like way of approaching outreach, right? It's like, where are your students when they're not in your class? Where do they go? Where do they hang out? How do they spend their time and money outside of the scope of your Reiki practice or coming to you for sound healing or coming to your events? And being a presence at that place in an intentional way.
Yeah.
You know, don't underestimate the power of boothing or tabling at places like farmers markets, at crystal fairs, craft fairs. Like, sometimes there's that barrier internally for people around taking a yoga class because they've decided, like we all have at some point, that yoga looks a certain way and they don't fit that description. So why would they bother? You being in that place and saying like, hey, this is me. This is the type of yoga I do. And I would love to have you in my class. Inviting people to do something is so effective, particularly if they have a story that they don't belong in that place.
Which
Right.
I think the number of people that would feel they wouldn't belong in a place like that because of self-prescribed, this is how I look, feel, I don't match the image. I think there's way more of that than people think.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah,
so
a
many
lot.
people that feel, oh, I can't do this X, Y, and Z because I don't look this way.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of them. So I think that's
And they'll be able to ask you questions if you are meeting them where they are. They can say like, well, I've never done a yoga class. I
can't touch my toes.
can't touch
right?
my toes. I
Like-
turned on a YouTube one time and then got distracted by my dog, you know.
Yep.
And so you'll be able to connect with them, answer those questions. My first yoga teaching was predominantly in the school building that I worked in and at a local community center. So starting within the ecosystem that you already exist and participate helps to bring people in as well. And it is like, I mean, to use a marketing term, I guess, it is a long game. It's a long game.
Yeah.
Like, you can't like wake up in the morning and be like,
Yeah.
I'm going to teach a workshop in 2 days and it's going to be full of people
Right.
because I'm feeling
What do you call it?
inspired.
Uh-huh.
What did you say? Welcome to not time traveling, but when we're consistently like, because we're always dating things out in the future. And I'm like, I don't even know what week it is.
Oh, like linear time?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, welcome to linear time.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I mean, when sometimes I'll open my Google Calendar to look at what we're supposed to be doing today, and it's 10 months in the future. That's where my Google Calendar is because of whatever
Yeah.
I was last doing. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh, right, I was in March last night. And you have to be able to balance, perhaps even more important than marketing, but within that thread, creative flow and impulse with a plan, because you can be as inspired and creative as you want with your
Right.
offerings, but if you don't have you don't have the time to get the message out there, you're going to be sharing your really creative offering all by yourself.
And
Yeah.
even with over almost 10,000 email subscribers, or like even with thousands of people in our ecosystem, like we can't put out a course next week and expect that it's going to fill.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so this isn't
People
just
have
like
plans.
people have
Yeah.
plans. Yeah. Yep.
So you have to be really able to straddle those two places
Yeah,
of
you gotta
I'm
find-
being inspired, I'm all lit up, I'm super fiery, and
And it
also
feels good to actually put something down. If you are someone who does get sparks of inspiration, it does feel good to say, okay, so this is going to be every Thursday. I'm going to do this thing, and that is going to be my offering, and maybe put it out for the next 3 months every Thursday. But that consistency is
Is
great
key.
marketing
Oh,
in itself.
it's so key. We just had somebody stop into the studio, and
right. They were
she
looking for
was
the
like,
same. Yeah.
she was
is
like,
this going to change?
she was like, these classes are every week. I'm like, yeah. What do you mean? Like this
Yeah.
is the schedule for
Yeah,
the
like,
next
at
3
least
months.
Through
And
August.
she's like, but like these won't change. I'm like, not until September. We have like trimesters kind of here.
Well, you're like, sometimes people do get sick, and
I
there
mean,
could be a very
Right,
last
yeah,
minute.
yeah.
Like
She just
but,
was like, oh, these are regular
is
drop
that
in.
not common?
Who knows what's
Yeah.
it's,
Okay.
it's a wild west out there after COVID, you know, like who knows what's going on. I mean, it's like Thunderdome.
They're
There's
like,
no rules. Everyone's like, let's have a workshop
Check my
tomorrow.
Insta, you'll see what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
Follow me and maybe we'll, catch each other at a pop-up. Like
oh my
what?
gosh.
So yeah, it's consistency is
You gotta find.
absolutely key.
I would say that if you are tabling or boothing, I think that it was amazing that we had the Reiki and the massage as well.
Mhm.
So like even if you don't have a modality of that sort, like you're a yoga teacher, you can teach breath work. So if like there was a
Like,
couple
yeah,
other
Right,
studios,
we were able to
Meditation.
like, give
we're like,
something. We
yeah,
were
give
able to,
something
like,
like
present
put
something.
put an
like-
A-frame, put a chalkboard sign up, and say you need a 5-minute break. Let's stop in, check in with me. Let's
I was
do this
doing 3 card
breath work.
pulls
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
people. Yeah. Like helps people like stop. Even when we were the first couple days, we just had like cards laid out on the table
Yep.
and let people come and pull their own card. And it's
Yeah.
just like,
It's a draw.
like
I feel like each day I think we progressed.
we
I feel like each day our booth got more dynamite.
Like,
I mean, by the
Yeah.
end, were you like, we could do
What?
this every weekend?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, here's the good definition. If like
we will this weekend.
if we had planned all of that out, that's marketing.
Yes.
But we kind of
Right.
just flew in the seat of our pants because it was like the
But
first festival that
really,
like
we did have
we
a
have
plan.
done
we
together.
we had a plan, I believe, right? And then I feel like we saw it like what would be different to make it better.
I mean,
you
we did
know?
have. We were
like, okay.
cognizant enough of the plan to bring all the things we needed to
Right.
execute
Right.
what we executed.
right.
And then
Yeah.
we're like, oh, actually, this setup would make more sense, or this setup
Yeah.
would feel more inviting, and
But I
or
think
give more
that
space.
I think you're right in the context of like, if we were to look at our marketing plan,
Mm-hmm.
the marketing plan stopped at do tabling at
Right.
a yoga festival.
Right.
Like, it was like have
Right.
booth will travel.
Have
Yeah.
booth at a yoga
Yeah.
festival. That's good marketing. And then the creative flow and impulse that was able to unfold within that container of a plan was, oh, what about putting some cards out and drawing people in? Because
Yep.
I do think that in a way, so many of us, I myself included, post COVID, we are like social weird.
We're weirdos.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, oh,
definitely.
do I talk to people? Is this okay? We're breathing each other's breath. Is
Mm-hmm.
this fine? Are we, there's a little bit of a pause, or we have forgotten how to be in like major
In space,
community
yeah.
of total strangers. So what's the icebreaker? How are you
Right.
pulling
Yep.
people in? Can you offer something like a sound healing session, a short 5-minute singing bowl, or a breath practice? Can you put the offering? And that's talking about in real life scenario. But in the digital platform and field, we're talking about a 15-minute morning practice every single day for
Right.
a period of time to get people to drop in and notice who you are and how you do what you do. And at first, it might not be a whole lot of people. And this is why it's like, this is a long game. And what is your internal story to heal if you plan a thing and 5 people come or less,
Right.
right? Because whatever that internal projection of scarcity is that comes out when you're like, oh, see, nobody likes my offering, or I have to change it, or who I am isn't drawing people in, so let me change that, or it's the time, or it's the time of day. Be so mindful of jumping to those stories and believing them, and instead pause and be like, it just simply takes time to build a relationship and to build a channel for people to understand who you are and what you're offering. And you have to trust that process. I mean, there were countless classes I taught through years and years of there being 2, 3, 4 people there. And you know what? Those 2, 3, 4 people then brought friends or their partners or their children, or somebody made a post on Facebook and it's like, I'm looking for a yoga class. And one of my students said, go to Jeannie's yoga class, right? Like, trusting that process is so hard when what we're being inundated with from the marketing of the marketing is this is broken and you have to fix it. And your pain point as a teacher is that you don't have enough students.
It's like if it's not a raging success, it's a failure.
Right.
Right? Like,
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is so bad because I mean, it's all practicing your craft. It's all putting in like
Yeah.
those thousands of hours that
Yeah.
are priceless at the end of it. You know what I mean? It's like I'm thinking of like when you were teaching in Vermont. How many years ago was that? That was at least 8.
72.
9.
We've been here for 8 years, so
yeah,
9 years
10
plus.
years ago. Yeah.
That's all work towards your art
Right.
and your craft, and that's like, okay, one person shows up. That's better than
Cultivating your
teaching like
craft.
it's better than not teaching.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, did you teach today? It's a yes or no question. Sometimes like the amount of people is irrelevant because you got to do that,
Right.
and you got to work on it and improve and get
And
better
that
and stuff.
consistency is good for yourself too. So like you said, a morning practice, 15 minutes, that consistency is great for ourselves as well.
Because where the gaze goes,
Right.
the
Energy
prana
Right.
flows, the energy
So
flows.
it's like I've been doing this thing for a while. Oh, just pop in, show up.
Yeah.
It's 15 minutes,
It's
I
like
mean, it's hard when you're trying to pay your bills and like, you're
Yeah.
not
Also
seeing,
true.
so
Yeah.
there is that piece of like, you do have to take care of yourself. You need to keep your roof over your head, hypothetically. And
Absolutely.
so like, there are times to pivot and to change and Matt, you were going to say something. Prana, energy, gaze, flowing.
Oh yeah.
Are you making a song?
Always.
Prana, gaze.
No.
energy.
I knew, sort of. Yeah, it's floating around in there.
It'll
Yeah.
wiggle its way back
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I mean, and yes, like you have to keep the lights on, you have to pay the bills, and I think that it's important to get really clear about what is required to do those things
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
Right? So, you might have the idea in your mind of like, well, what I would like is to replace. Like, let's say someone works 3 jobs. That's what I was doing at the time, right?
yeah.
I was working a few jobs, teaching, doing youth agriculture project, and teaching yoga. and the teaching yoga was / have my own yoga studio, right? That sometimes 3 people were in class. And so I have these 3 jobs. And so my goal is to replace one of them, right? How much does that job actually bring in? How much yoga teaching and how much energy do I need to devote to getting really clear? Like, money is currency, is energy. So being able to be in that flow of like, you know, this is what my very clear, specific goal is, and here are the actionable steps to get there, helps fuel a marketing plan. And the other thing to remember is, you know, we reach people that we couldn't organically reach through collaborating, through meeting with other people, through understanding that our audiences overlap, or our students are actually at your place of business when they're not in my yoga class, and how can I reach more of your people and you can reach more of my people. These just sort of subtle shifts can help make it go from a class of 3 to a class of 6 or 8, can help you, you know, actually fill a workshop that you're doing on a Saturday to boost that monthly, you know, revenue that you want to pull in. And thinking outside of that traditional marketing structure of I need to make people worried, so worried about whatever's going to happen in their lives that they come to my class. You know, like it's a very interesting perspective to have in the flow of currency and energy. And again, rooted in scarcity. And whenever a plan is rooted in scarcity mindset, it's a slippery slope to never enoughness. Like it's so tenuous, that relationship of like, well, if this much is good, then more is always going to be better. And before you know it, you know, you're just as burnt out at doing this yoga thing that you were going to do that was going to save your, you know, energy field from the throes of capitalistic mindset. And you're in that grind culture within this beautiful practice that you've been trying to pull you away from that. So it's just important to question. It's important to not fall into that susceptibility of believing like the stories around gaining constantly, growing exponentially, and getting really clear around what do you need.
Right. And I love that, like, what is the minimum, right? Like, because really, like, the maximum can be anything. So what is the minimum? And like the minimum that you're happy with, and that might not be the minimum of like your bills. It might be the minimum of your bills plus whatever, but like, where's your minimum?
Plus your vacation
I'm
fund.
Teaching, I'm teaching this class. I'm teaching this class twice a week. And that would be awesome if by the end of the month, that would be like my car bill.
Yes.
Right.
Or my electric bill.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And then I think that brings it to a point too of, you know, as Jeannie had said, it's currency. It's an energy exchange. So myself included, as I'm sure many other people listening, my class is just going to be free. You know, I'm renting this space. This is my time and I want people to come. So I'm just going to give my class for free. So notating that, you know, it is an energy exchange. And so tap into that worthiness and that, you know, it's okay to set that boundary or that line. And
well, equal exchange too.
Equal exchange.
You know, equal exchange. I think that's important. I don't know where I read somewhere. It might have honestly been Starhawk.
She's so good.
She's so cute. Who wrote about like the thing that you want to receive the most, give it. Right. So like, and I will say that I took a yoga teacher training and, this was a hot training that I took. And, the students that were with me in that program were so like fiercely, just collaborative for years afterwards. There was a moment where stuff got tight and weird, but right out of the gate, so fiercely supportive of one another's businesses. And here we all were. I mean, I was teaching full-time school at that point. But many of them were opening their own yoga studios, were, traveling around doing events and doing festivals and stuff. They all were in a marketing standpoint, each other's competition. And they never behaved that way. And it was so remarkable to see, I think it was like a group of 5 or 6 of them that were just consistently like, oh, my class at my studio doesn't fit your schedule. Well, guess what? My friend is teaching a class across town, and it probably would fit your schedule because she has a different work flow than I do. Or, oh, my studio is 20 minutes for you. Well, my other friend, her studio is 5 minutes from your house. Like, it was just so beautiful.
Well, and that works so well when everybody's invested in doing that, right? Like, it only works when everybody's invested in doing that. And when, because that you're going to receive back that same level of support. And
and it was just lovely. And then and they were demonstrating that, like, what they wanted was more students in their classes. And so what they were giving was directing more students to other people's classes. And I'm sure if they had hired like a marketing team, the marketing team would have been like, literally, what are you doing? Like, get another teacher in another time slot in your studio.
I've had someone do that before, and I was like, wow, it's really nice of you. Like, just a recognition of.
Well, and it makes you want to do it back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what
all right,
I'm
I'm
saying.
going to catch your class too, So.
Well, and in the world of like sharing things on social media and Facebook and places like that too, it's like someone might see, you comment, maybe you tag like your student or potential student, like, oh, this is my friend Rebecca, and her class is probably actually going to fit your needs better than mine, because she teaches more power and I teach more yin. It doesn't take that much to realize that everybody else who looks and comments on that post is going to see that you teach yin.
Right.
And potentially that's what they're looking for, because they're not looking to go to the power class. So we're back to, what is your unique offering? How are people showing up for that? And just hold that so steady, and also support other people in their authentic offering.
Nice. Way to bring it home.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, final thoughts, you just like bring it all back to the intro.
Well, and I feel like
we've been doing this a while.
The takeaway was, like, what's the best marketing? Like, just be you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And remember that you are not inherently flawed. You have everything that you need within you. So what actually do you need to? It's perfect time, solstice, full moon, to release anything that is having you perceive that you're not capable, or you're not worthy, or you don't have the value, or
to be seen.
What you're putting out there is what everybody else is putting out there. The market is saturated. Like, what a perfect time to do a little releasing ritual. And even if you're hearing this a week from now, 10 weeks from now, next full moon, do some release around all that stuff.
You've been tied it into the astrology and what's
Can
going on.
we just do like a recap though of like, because I feel like we talked a lot, like kind of large scale on like the energy to bring to it, but like, can we just say that like what we do is marketing, right?
Yeah.
Like we do paid Google ads, we do Facebook events, we do Facebook community posts, we do email blasts, we do podcasts, TikToks, Instagram reels, we do flyers, we do events, we
go to yoga festivals.
You take the flyers and you leave them in the bathrooms.
Like, we're
you put
potentially going to be on the side of a bus. We are going to have our ads up at the beginning of movie theater.
And I would like the magnet for my car.
Sabrina's going to put a magnet on her car, so when she drives back and forth to Pennsylvania, like, so like there are so many tangible, real little things, big things that you can do for marketing. It's really kind of endless.
It is. And frame it around outreach.
Yep. Think of it as outreach.
Like, there are many ways to reach people, and different demographics of human beings are going to be accessible in different streams.
Yep.
And so I'll use another marketing. You want to diversify how you're putting yourself out there. Don't put all your eggs in one Instagram basket.
And keep showing up. Show up for yourself, show up for your students, your future students, and like believe that you will reach the people that you're meant to reach. Keep that.
Woohoo.
Ta-da!
Yep.
Ta-da!
Nope. It's gone.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Good job, everyone.
Good job.
You look great today, Matt.
Thanks. Trying to lean in that
Better
power
cut
color.
it before we all start freestyling.
I think for a topic that can be tricky and almost boring and overwhelming as marketing, that was very inspiring. I think that was a lot of practical and a lot of inspirational stuff that we all do.
Yeah.
You know what? I love it.
I love it.
Love it.
Love it.
I love it.
Thanks, everyone. Matt for the Wi-Fi pod.
This is Jeannie.
Jessica here.
This is Sabrina.